Alex Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the 2023 winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Last week, as we found Ice and Death, we picked up 9 experience, and Norman got an extra experience from spending some time with Cookie. And the expedition team is unharmed except for Professor Dyer, who was killed in a plane crash that started this year's winter campaign. Anyway, we've upgraded the decks with that experience, so now it's time for the second scenario, To the Forbidden Peaks. First up, let's set the scene.
Scenario 2, To the Forbidden Peaks. Intro 1. The wind howls as your party prepares for the long journey ahead. There is very little conversation. Even if you could hear each other's muffled voices through your earmuffs and scarves, what would you say? The silence of your shared terror is loud enough. Your destination is many miles ahead of you. The jagged peaks loom far on the horizon, taunting you. You make a mental checklist of your situation. Check your campaign log and read each passage below that corresponds to your situation. Then, proceed to Intro 2. Intro 2.
Hold on. Let's see. That's the one parallel with these audio recordings. Let's take a look.
If Avery Claypool is alive,
He is.
Weather might look clear right now, Claypool explains, but it could turn on a dime. We'll be on ice for most of the journey, so be on the lookout for cracks. We need ice about 60 centimeters thick in order to walk across, so stay behind me at all times, and I'll use this auger to make sure it's safe. He holds up a spiral-tipped drilling device and leads the way. The investigators suffer no ill effect.
Okay, what's our next situation?
If Alaya Ashabak is alive and wooden sledge is listed under supplies recovered, it is not...
No. Alaya is alive, but we didn't recover... I don't think we recovered the wooden sledge, did we? No, we didn't.
Otherwise, you groan as you heft an enormous, heavy backpack full of equipment onto your back. You're definitely not looking forward to trekking across the snow with an extra 40 pounds, but there's no avoiding it. You have no idea how long you're going to be where you're headed, and you'll need everything in that backpack if you want to survive. Add 1 frost token to the chaos bag. Scenario 2.
Zip it. Anyway, there's another frost token going into the bag. I'll give that a quick shake up. And then we've got a couple more things to check on.
If Takata Hiroko is alive,
And she is.
as you set out, you hear Takata singing something under her breath, just quiet enough that you can't tell what it is. One of the others, however, seems to recognize it. That song again, they say. Heard you singing it on the Theodosia on the way over. Takata sighs. It is a song my father taught me. Helps me pass the time, she explains. You ask if she would like to teach it to you, and she gives you the first smile you've seen from her since the trek began. Yes. Yes, I would. You spend the remainder of the journey singing and bonding together, whittling the time away. The investigators suffer no ill effects.
Because we need diversions on a journey like this. Anyway, we've got one more situation to check on.
Otherwise, the party suffers through the cold. Otherwise,
What?
the frozen tundra.
Hang on.
If the investigators scouted the mountain pass.
Okay, we did not do that, so I think we're on to this one.
Otherwise, the frozen tundra leading up to the foothills of the jagged mountains is hard terrain to traverse. Even prepared up as you are with snowshoes and warm clothes to fight the cold, the going is slow and rough. The wind fights you at every turn, its gusts strong enough to knock you over, but you continue onward, undeterred. The investigators suffer no ill effect. Intro 2. You hike through the ice and snow for many grueling hours. Luckily, you encounter no more of the creatures from the previous 2 days, leaving you to ponder if it was all some cruel mirage. But as you draw closer to the base of the jagged snow-tipped mountains, you find another manner of creature altogether. It lies frozen and half buried in the snow, like a macabre waymarker guiding you onward. Its body is shaped like a drum, with thick hide and a pair of torn, leathery wings. A starfish-shaped appendage sticks out of the snow from its top half, adorned with 5 dead eyes and a set of prismatic cilia. 5 sets of tentacles lie frozen in the ice. The sight of the thing chills you more than the Antarctic weather possibly could. There can be no doubt. This is one of the elder things that Professor Dyer and Danforth encountered the last time they ventured into the heart of Antarctica. What killed it? Surely it was not just the cold? Proceed to set up.
Which I of course did all of setup off camera last night. But anyway, so that's all set up. Let's go ahead and remind everybody what the tarot reading was. Tony's Damned made him flip the Empress 3. So the first agility test he performs each round will be -1 agility. And that only affects him. Affecting both of our investigators. On the good side, we left the Lover's 6. When the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset, adds it to their hand, and shuffles their deck. But we'll be busy because we flipped the Moon 18. So when the game begins, each investigator discards the top 5 cards of their deck. Shuffle each discarded weakness back into its owner's deck. So that's our tarot reading. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our opening hands. Tony actually gets to start with an extra 2 cards because of the visit to Danforth, I think it was. But we are going to go with Norman as our first investigator this time around. So first up, of the 3, we have the ally for Norman I think I'm least happy to see, Laboratory Assistant. 2 cost to play, Loron Commit. Max hand size increased by 2, and as a reaction after it enters play, draw 2 cards. Health and 2 sanity on Soak. We have Shriveling, 3 cost to play, Combat on Commit. Uses 4 charges. As an action, spend 1 charge to fight. Uses Will instead of Combat and deals +1 damage. But if you pull a bad symbol, take 1 horror. Drawn to the Flame, 0 cost to play, Will and Loron Commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Deduction with a Loron Commit. And if this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. And Feed the Mind, which takes up an arcane slot, 3 cost to play, Loron Commit. Uses 3 secrets. As an action, exhaust Feed the Mind and spend 1 secret. Test Lore 1. For each point you succeed by, to a max of 3, draw 1 card. Tony's opening hand. Remember, we're starting with 2 additional cards because of visiting Danforth. First cards I'm happy to see. 45 Thompson, 6 cost to play, Combat on Commit. Uses 5 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo to fight. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for the attack. Leo De Luca, the Louisiana Lion, level 1. 5 cost to play, Loron Commit. You may take an additional action during your turn. 2 and 2 on Soak. Then cards I'm not as happy to see. Watch this. Will, Combat, Agility on Commit. Only to a skill test you're performing. As an additional cost to commit, watch this. To a skill test, spend up to 3 of your resources. If you succeed by 1 or more, gain twice that many resources. Scene of the Crime. 2 cost to play, Combat, Loron Commit. Play only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 instead if there's an enemy at that location, and this action doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. Daring, which is 3 wild cards on Commit. Only to a skill test during an attack or evasion attempt against an enemy. The enemy gains Alert and Retaliate for the duration of this skill test. But after the test ends, draw 1 card. Opportunist level 2, wild card on Commit, only to a skill test you're performing, and if you succeed by 2 or more, return Opportunist to your hand after this test instead of discarding it. And Prepared for the Worst. 1 cost to play, Lore and Combat on Commit. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a weapon asset and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. I'd probably be a lot happier to see that if the weapon in Tony's hand was Tony's 38 Long Colt rather than one of his 45 Thompsons. Anyway, now we can take a look at the starting act and agenda decks. Forbidden Peaks. You arrive at the foothills of the menacing mountain. The strange caves and odd formations at the mountain's summit beg to be explored. Forced, after you move to a location, return all of your clues to the token pool. Need 6 doom to advance. And then we only have 1 act for this scenario. Act 1A, ascend the mountain. Carrying as much expedition gear as you can, you must climb the imposing mountainside to unlock the secrets that lie on the other side. Action, take control of an expedition asset at your location. Objective, get to the top of the mountain. If each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. So our goal is a total climbing mission. Anyway, we also need to select members of the expedition team to go out with us. Tony had Dr. Malasina out with him last week, and Norman went out with Elia Ashbach. This week we're going to change it up. So we do have some dangerous treacheries in the encounter deck, so Tony's going to take Dr. Amy Kensler out with him. So we'll take a quick look at Dr. Amy Kensler, Professor of Biology. Partner uses 3 secrets. As an action, I can spend a secret and exhaust Dr. Kensler to investigate, with a base lore of 5. If I succeed, I look at the top card of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. I may discard that card. All of this is so fascinating. Do you not agree? 2 health and 4 sanity. And I've got the 3 secrets for Dr. Kensler. These brass-backed tokens from LCG Tokens are so handy. Link, of course, as always, with the special components will be in the description down below. As for Norman, we were a bit liberal with adding frost tokens to the bag last week. Perhaps too liberal. So with that danger in mind, we're going to send him out with Avery Claypool this week. Avery Claypool, Antarctic Guide. Uses 5 supplies. When an investigator at your location reveals a frost token during a skill test, exhaust Avery Claypool and spend 1 supply. Cancel that token and reveal a new one. Weather is turning foul again. I would tell you to turn back, but I gather you would refuse. Right? 3 and 3. And then we've got the 5 secrets, which are once again brass-backed tokens. Alright, then with that, our investigators will move over to the map, so let's join them over there. Trying to reduce the glare from the light on that side, so hopefully that'll make everything at least a little bit easier to see. But anyway, we do have our level 0 mountainside location. These will all have the same flavor text on this side. Also the same text on this side. You can't enter this location unless all of the clues on the location directly below it have been discovered. The touch of evil mystery in these barrier mountains and in the beckoning sea of opalescent sky glimpsed betwixt their summits was a highly subtle and attenuated matter. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. This flips into Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Forced. After you move to White Bluff from a location below it, test Agility 1. X is 1 plus this location's level. If you fail, lose control of an expedition asset and place it at White Bluff. Victory 1. We'll get the 2 clues out for that, and then we do have an asset here. Spare parts. 2 will and a wild card on commit. Uses 3 supplies. It has a fast action, spend 1 supply and exhaust spare parts. Add 1 supply to another asset at your location, or choose an investigator at your location to gain 1 resource. So that's potentially good for resources. But anyway, that's everything set up for the scenario, so I think we can jump in. Norman's turn will start right here at the map. Oh, I almost forgot. We got to do a couple things before the game starts. So first of all, we're going to search for an asset from for an ally from each of our decks. Norman's actually going to go grab his friend Dr. Milan Christopher. And then he's got to discard the top 5 cards of his deck. After which I'll flip over the top card of his deck, because remember, we've got to play with the top of Norman's deck revealed. One, two, three, four, five. Make sure we have no weaknesses here. We do not, and nothing I'm particularly broken about losing. But anyway, top card of Norman's deck then. Curiosity. Well, you have 4 more cards in hand. Curiosity gains will and lore, in addition to the one it already has. When you have 7 or more cards in hand, it gains another 2 instead. Then Tony, I think, is just going to grab another copy of Leo out of his hand, or out of his deck. Let me see if he even has another ally. I don't completely think he does. He does not. Alright, so we'll give that a quick shuffle. I'm not going to worry about going through Milan's, or I'm not going to worry about going through Milan, because I expect once Tony discards the top 5 cards of his deck, reshuffling any weaknesses in, Norman's first action will probably be to play Milan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see if Tony has any weaknesses in there. I'm not happy about losing daring and the other daring and a quick thinking. But nothing I can do about that. As I was saying, Norman's first action for 4 resources will be to go ahead and play out his buddy Milan. So Dr. Milan, Christopher, Professor of Entomology. 4 cost to play, lore on commit. You get +1 lore, and after you successfully investigate, gain 1 resource. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. 1 and 2 on soak. Then action 2, Norman will investigate. Right now he's up 3, and I'll commit deduction to go up 4. Elder Sign. Let's see what this is. Plus X, you may swap the top card of your deck with a card in your hand. X is the resource cost of the card on top of your deck. So right now, it's a +0 because there's a skill up there. I'm actually not going to swap it, but I will get the 2 clues off the location, which will give me a resource back thanks to Milan. And then for action 3, Norman is going to move up to the next level mountainside. So he loses the 2 clues he just got. I technically gained them, but I immediately lost them to move up to a location. So at the mountainside we find, or at level 1, Shroud of 3, no clues. After Windswept Path is revealed, if it is at level 0, place 1 per investigator clues on it from the token pool. Forced, after you move to Windswept Path from a location below it, place 1 clue on it from the token pool, victory 1. So we're going to end up getting 2 clues on there. But anyway, that will do it for Norman. Tony's turn. Action 1 will take him up there, which I already put the 2 clues up there because Tony was moving up there. Action 2, he's going to clean himself out of resources to play out 1 of his copies of Leo De Luca. And now we'll take a look at the flavor text. I was born in Mississippi. Louisiana just sounded better. Yeah, I have to admit the Mississippi lion just doesn't have the same ring that the Louisiana lion does. But anyway, so now Tony has an additional action, which he'll actually use to... No, why not? We'll investigate it even. Rune can't be good. Rune is -3. If you fail, lose control of an expedition asset and place it at your location. Which we didn't bring the spare parts up with us, so that does fail. Then action 4, I should say, I think we will exhaust Dr. Kensler to go up to, and we get to look at the top card of a deck. If we succeed. Which, as we saw with the rune earlier, we do not. That's rather unfortunate, but anyway, no help for it now. That will do it for Tony. That will do it for the investigation phase. We'll check for any end of round effects, but it's the first turn of the game, so nothing there. Anyway, enemy phase, like I said, no enemies in play. So we'll go ahead and reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains 1 resource and goes to 3. Tony gains 1 resource. For first learning, Norman draws 2 cards and discards 1. So he has Curiosity to choose from and the Harbinger. So we have to take the Harbinger because we can't voluntarily discard weaknesses. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the Harbinger. Revelation, place this card on top of your deck. While the Harbinger is revealed and on top of your deck, cards in your deck cannot be searched, drawn, or manipulated in any way except by the below ability. 2 actions to discard the Harbinger. This ability may be activated while the Harbinger is on top of your deck as if it were in your threat area. Delightful. Tony draws. Turnings 38 Longcolt. 3 cost to play. Combat, Lore, Will on Commit. Uses 3 ammo. Reaction, after you play Tony's 38 Longcolt, play another Tony's 38 Longcolt from your hand at no cost. Action, spend an ammo to fight. You get +1 combat for each bounty on the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage. If this attack defeats an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, place 1 contract on bounty contracts. So 2, 4, 6, 8. We do need to be sensitive to Tony's hand. Mythos phase. First Doom going up on the agenda. Norman draws. Elder Things Scavenger. Oh joy. 3s across the board. Hunter. Forced. After Elder Things Scavenger attacks you, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded this way. Of the life of the old ones, both under the sea and after part of them migrated to land, volumes could be written. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. 1 and 1 on Soak, and I think Tony will put a bounty on it. So I've got these very nice looking bounty contracts on them. These come from Orbits, and I'll provide a link to in the description down below. Tony draws. Snowfall. Revelation, place 2 clues on your location from the token pool. Delightful. The still lower horizon grazing southern sun of midnight poured its hazy reddish rays over the white snow, bluish ice and water lanes, and black bits of exposed granite slope. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Delightful. So we get 2 more clues on the windswept path, which brings us up to 4. Anyway, that will do it for the investigation, or for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and we need to put Norman to work on those clues, but we need to go to Tony first so we can get that Elder Things Scavenger off of Norman. Unfortunately, Tony needs to go resource. Then action 3, he's got to play out the Longcolt, just so he has something he can fight with. I'll get the 3 ammo for that. Actually, I'm only going to get 2 ammo, because I'm then going to use his extra action that I can use to engage or fight an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it. So I'm going to aim at the Elder Things Scavenger. I'm up 3. -2 puts 2 damage on the Elder Thing Scavenger. And then action 4, we'll take another shot at it, so he's still up 3. Once I find where the bullets go, there we are. -1 takes out the Elder Thing Scavenger, and because I used the Long Colt to do it, I get the bounty back, and I get a resource. So the Elder Thing Scavenger is defeated, which means we don't need to deal with that anymore. Anyway, that will do it for Tony in a rather uneventful turn. Now let's move over to Norman. Norman's turn is going to be very uneventful. 2 actions, we need to get rid of the Harbinger. And then we'll flip that over to reveal. Captivating Discovery on top. Search the top 6 cards of your deck. You may place up to 3 of your clues on your location. For each clue placed this way, choose and add 2 of the searched cards to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Then action 3, Norman will investigate up to. Actually, it's up 3. -2 gets us a clue, and Norman gets a resource as well. Here are his resources. Anyway, that will do it for Norman. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony killed our only enemy in play. So I'll breeze right through that. And we'll reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains a resource and goes to 5. Tony gains 1 and goes to 2. Norman from Forced Learning has Captivating Discovery to choose from, and Preposterous Sketches. 2 cost to play, lore and will on commit. Play only if there's a clue on your location, draw 3 cards. We need to find Norman some clue gathering ability right now. On top of the deck we find another copy of Dr. Milan Christopher, which I'm not particularly happy to see. Tony draws. Another 45 Thompson, which I'm not real happy to see, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're all clear there. Mythos phase, we go up to 2 Doom on the agenda. Norman draws. Hypothermia. As an action, test Will 3. A Revelation, test Will 3. If the level of your location is 4 or 5, and it's not. If you fail, either add 1 Frost token to the Chaos Bag, or take 1 Horror for each point you failed by. Right now, Norman's up 1. I will test there, unless Tony's got anything in his hand that he can commit. He does not, so Norman's up 1. Skull can't be good. -X, where X is the level of your location. So it's level 1 and Norman was up 1. So we're actually clear there. Tony draws. Constricting Elder Thing. 3x2, where X is the level of your location to a minimum of 1. While Constricting Elder Thing is engaged with you, you can't move to locations above your location. 1 health, 2 sanity on Soak. We'll put a bounty on it, mostly because I want to make sure I have the... do I want to put 1 bounty on it or 2? I think I'll put 2 on it. Mostly because I'm going to need resources here pretty quickly. But anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and we probably need to start doing some clue things here. So let's move down to Norman, and we'll move into his play area. Action 1 for Norman will be to spend 2 resources to play out Preposterous Sketches, which has a much less PG name, so I'm not going to use it here. But anyway, Norman gets to draw 3 cards because we do have a clue on our location. Card 1 is Milan. Card 2 is Occult Invocation. As an additional cost to play it, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. Fight using lore instead of will, or combat. You get +1 lore and deal +1 damage for this attack per card discarded. And at card 3, No Stone Unturned. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator searches the top 6 cards of their deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. So we'll grab those, and then on top of Norman's deck we find Knowledge is Power. 0 cost to play, lore and will on commit. Fast, play only during your turn. Choose a tome or spell asset you control, or reveal one from your hand. Resolve an action or fast action ability on that asset, ignoring all costs, including its action cost, if any. Then, if that asset was in your hand, you may discard it to draw 1 card. That was action 1. Action 2, I think we'll investigate, so we are up 3. Skull, as we saw earlier, is -1. So Norman gets a clue back, and he gets a resource. Action 3, oh god, do I want to pop a Drawn to the Flame here? I might have to, just to try to keep things moving. Actually, no, I don't need to. What I think we'll do, though, is Norman will... Actually, he's going to, for action 3, he's going to spend his 3 resources to play out Shriveling. So we'll give Norman a way to defend himself. We need the 4 charges for Shriveling. There we are. We'll put those down on Shriveling. And then that will do it for Norman. We'll move over to Tony, and we'll move over to his play area. Action 1, we'll start with 2 resources to play. Where are you? Here you are. Scene of the crime, to discover 2 clues at his location because there's an enemy and no attack of opportunity. So Tony gets the 2 clues off the location. Then his bounty action will be to fight the constricting elder thing using his 38 long colt. So he's at 5, 6, 7 to 3. He's up 4. And I will commit... I'll commit 1 of his copies of his 45 Thompson to go up 5. Actually, no, I don't need that. I'm up 4. Actually, yeah, we're fine. We're up 4. Skull, as we saw earlier, is -1. So Tony gets the 2 resources back that he paid to play Scene of the Crime. One of those bounties comes back to bounty contracts, and the constricting elder thing is defeated. Alright, that goes in there. Then action 2 will take Tony over to the map. Action 2, Tony will move up to level 2, and he'll reveal Shroud of 2, 4 clues. Forest, after you move to snow-covered crag from a location below it, exhaust each asset you control. Oh joy. The distribution of cryptical cave mouths on the black snow denuded summits seemed roughly even. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness, Victory 1. And I was planning on using Dr. Kensler to try to help me get some of those clues off the location, but alas... Right, exhaust, exhaust, exhaust. We are up 1, though, trying to work on getting those clues, and I think that is what we'll do. Tony loses his clues. Alright, so Tony is up 1 for action 3. Is there anything I want to commit to help his lore out? There is not. So, up 1. Cultist can't be good. -1. If you fail, move to the location directly below you. Never mind, we're up 1, so Tony gets a clue. And then action 4, he'll run the investigate back. So once again, still up 1. Skull is now -2, so Tony actually does fail that one. But anyway, at least we're a clue ahead. So that will do it for Tony, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony took care of our enemy once again. So we'll flip everything over here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains 1 resource and goes to 2. Tony gains 1 and goes to 3. Norman has knowledge as power to choose from, and hypochondria. Revelation, add hypochondria to your threat area. Forced, after you take 1 or more damage, take 1 direct horror, 2 actions to discard it. So we do have to take that, and then on top of Norman's deck now, Eureka. If the skill test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles. Lore, will, agility, and commit. Tony draws. 41 Derringer uses 3 ammo. As an action, spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +2 combat for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, this attack deals +1 damage, and it uses the hand slot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we're clear there. And all of this is unexhausted. But we'll move those over to Norman in a minute. Mythos phase. We go up to 3 doom on the agenda. Norman draws. Nightmarish Vapors. Peril, choose 1. You must either lose 2 actions or shuffle the top 2 cards of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at them. I think Norman's actually going to just lose 2 actions. Because there's only one thing I really need him to do this turn, and as long as we don't have any enemies to deal with, I'm not too alarmed with hypochondria. Anyway, Tony draws. Ice Shaft. Revelation, test agility 3. For each frost token revealed during this test, take 1 damage. If you fail, take 2 damage. Tony, this is Tony's first agility test, so he's down 1 from his base, which means he's down 2. Do I even commit to try to salvage this mess? I don't think so. So I just have to bite the bullet and test down 2. +1 still wouldn't have saved us, but it does prevent us from taking a lot of damage, because that was the only token we revealed, so Tony does take 2 damage. Anyway, that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next, and Norman's very short turn will take us briefly over to the map. Blink, and you miss Norman's turn. So I've exhausted everything he controls already. Remember, he only had 1 action because of the treachery card that he drew. So that'll do it for Norman's very uneventful turn. Tony is just going to start investigating. He's up 1. Does Norman have any help he can give? He'll give Tony a cult invocation to put him up 2. Hey, look at that, a 0. Action 2, Tony will run it back. Norman will give him... We'll give him Feed the Mind. Actually, no. We're not going to commit anything. We're up 1. Now that we've got Norman up here, we can potentially get some help with the... Now we can actually hopefully do some cool work. Zero gets Tony another clue. Speaking of clues, Norman should have lost his 2 clues when he moved up to the snow-covered crag. Action 3, Tony will run it back again. A frost token, that's a -1. So Tony right now is even, and a second frost token fails him. Which we'll probably use Avery to cancel if we have to. Skull is a -2, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Then action 4, we'll run that back. Cultist, as we saw, is -1. If you fail, move to the location directly below you, except Tony doesn't fail, so he gets the last clue off the location. Anyway, that will do it for Tony. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nice and quiet, thankfully. We have no enemies in play. So both of our investigators will flip over. We'll reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony will gain 1 resource, I guess, go to 4. Norman will gain 1 and go to 3. Norman from Forced Learning will have Eureka to choose from, and True Understanding. Commit only to a skill test from an ability printed on a scenario card. If the skill test is successful, discover 1 clue at your location. Well, considering we just emptied the snow-covered crag of clues, I don't think we really need that. We might need that later. Eureka is a skill I'm always happy to see, so I'll just take that. And then on top of Norman's deck, Summon Servitor. Ooh. 2 cost to play. Will on commit. Summon Servitor enters play at your location. It can take 1 action during each of your turns, which can only be used on the following action. Well, it's actually actions because we have the sheet for the Summon Servitor off of the... I'll put that off shot here just so I have it to reference. Tony draws. Another 41 Derringer, which I'm not particularly happy to see. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One of them is discard fodder. That was nice and easy. Anyway, Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 4. Norman draws. Glimpse the Unspeakable. Oh, delightful. Alright, Revelation, draw the top card of the Tekalili deck and resolve its effects. Shuffle it into any investigator's deck instead of placing it on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. If no Tekalili weakness is drawn by this effect, Glimpse the Unspeakable gains Surge. Alright, so Norman draws. This is from the Tekalili deck, by the way. Revelation, lose 2 resources, and then shuffle it in. Still came that Eldritch Mocking Cry. Tekalili, Tekalili. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Alright, so Norman has to resolve it, and then I think he'll shuffle it into his own deck. So we'll get one of his sleeves. His resource generation is usually a little bit better than Tony's, So I trust he'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. But anyway, so we'll shuffle that into Norman's deck, which will force a new top card out of his deck. Didn't mean to jar the camera there, so my apologies. Then on top of Norman's deck we find Deduction, which we saw earlier. Tony draws Guardian Elder Thing, oh boy, Hunter, 3/4/1, forced. When you deal damage to Guardian Elder Thing, for each point of damage dealt, discard the top card of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded this way. Oh, delightful. Alright, so that will bring us into the investigation phase now. And I think Tony's got to start off by trying to evade this Guardian Elder Thing, so we'll drop into his play area. I'm not going to put any bounties on this. Do I want to put bounties on this? I think I will put 2 bounties on it. I'm not going to fight it. My plan is not to fight it yet. Action 1 is going to be to try to evade. So right now I'm even, but I'm going to commit daring to go up 3, also trying to draw a card. And watch this, and I'm going to put 3 resources into this. Then Norman is going to give Tony the Eureka he just drew. So 1, 4, 5, 6 to 1. We're up 5, trying to get resources and a card back. Cultist, as we saw, is a -1, so Tony definitely doesn't fail, which means the Guardian Elder Thing is evaded. I'll get 6 resources back because I put 3 into this. Alright, so that's done. Then I'll resolve Daring first, so Tony will draw. Hard Knocks, which I'm not particularly happy to see. 2 cost to play, Combat and Agility on commit, and it's a skill dump, it's a resource dump for Combat and Agility. Okay, so Daring's done, and now Eureka lets Tony go 3 deep and grab a card. So card 1 is a Quick Thinking, wild card on commit. If this skill test is successful by 2 or more after it resolves, you may immediately take an action as if it were your turn. Does not count toward the number of actions you can take this turn. Card 2, Mauser C96, uses 5 ammo. 4 cost to play, Agility on commit. Action, exhaust Mauser C96 and spend 1 ammo to fight. You get +1 combat and deal +1 damage for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, either ready it or gain a resource. Card 3. Dyer's Sketches. Fast. Play during any open player window. Draw 3 cards. I don't want the Mauser. That's the one card I'm sure I don't want. And I think I'm actually pretty happy with my hand right now, so I don't need Dyer's Sketches either, which means I'll take Quick Thinking. So we'll shuffle all of this up. And then thanks to the resources from Watch This, I'll move that to Norman's discard pile. Action 2 will actually let me play out, where is it? Here you are. A copy of the .45 Thompson. So I'll get the 5 ammo for that, and I can spend an ammo to fight, getting +2 combat and dealing +1 damage for the attack. Used by both gangsters and police officers, the fully automatic Thompson submachine gun was favored due to its accuracy and high volume of fire. So I'll go get the 5 ammo for that. 4 and 5. There we are. 3, 4, 5. Then action 3 will take us over to the map. Action 3 will move Tony up to level 3, and then we'll reveal. Shroud of 2, 4 clues. Forced, Narrow Ridge. Forced, after you move to Narrow Ridge from a location below it, take 1 horror. Before noon, we all felt a thrill of excitement at beholding a vast, lofty, and snow-clad mountain chain which opened out and covered the whole vista ahead. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness, Victory 1. So Tony will take a horror, which I will put on Leo, I think. 2, come on. 3, 4. That was action 3. Action 4, he'll investigate up 1. Rune is -3, and if you fail, lose an expedition asset. But Tony didn't have an expedition asset under his control. So anyway, that will do it for Tony. Norman, all of this should be unexhausted, by the way. Norman's turn. Action 1 will move him up to the Narrow Ridge and join Tony. Likewise, he will also take a horror, but he'll take it himself. Action 2, I think we just go to work on clues. He's up 4. Frost is -1, and we pull again. Cultist, as we saw, is -1, but that doesn't fail him. So Norman gets a clue and a resource thanks to Milan. Resources are over here. And then action 3, we'll run that back. So we're still up 4. Cultist does not fail Norman, so we get the clue, another resource going up to 3, and Tony should have lost his clues from moving up. Yes, I'm terrible about remembering that, but anyway, that will do it for Norman. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Guardian Elder thing is exhausted thanks to our tag team effort to evade it. Now we're probably ready to start shooting it when it comes up, but we'll go ahead and get everything reset. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains 1 resource and goes to 4. Tony gains 1 and goes to 2. For forced learning, Norman will have deduction and Tekalili. Damn it! And I wanted the deduction pretty badly too. The only good thing about this is it gets this card back out of Norman's deck right away. I really wanted that deduction too, but anyway. Top of Norman's deck we find Knowledge is Power again. Tony draws. Tony's Quarry, just as delightful. 431. Spawn location farthest from Tony, aloof. Forced, after it enters play, place 1 doom on it, then place 1 resource on it from the token pool as a bounty. Okay, this is particularly problematic because the doom actually means that we're advancing this turn. So we'll put a resource on it as a bounty. Thanks, Tony's Quarry, because in the Mythos phase, as I mentioned, that is enough to let us advance, to make us advance. Come on, focus. Reemergence. The mountainside splits and erupts with snow. A storm of jagged ice shards bursts forth from the womb of the mountain. Behind it, the beast emerges, a whirlwind of mist, haunting alien shapes, hideous effluvia. It sets its terrible gaze on your party and reaches for you with a tendril of miasma. Put the set-aside Terror of the Stars enemy into play at the highest level location with one or more investigators. Each investigator at that location loses control of all expedition assets and places them at their location. Read Scenario Interlude, Tragedy Strikes in the campaign guide. Delightful. So, we go find the Terror of the Stars. Hunter Massive. X3X. Terror of the Stars gets +3 per investigator health. X is the terror level, the level of your location to a minimum of 1. It's actually 3 because that's where we are. Forced. At the end of the round, move all investigators at Terror of the Stars' location to the location directly below it. Delightful. Victory 1, 2, and 2. And then we need to find Tragedy Strikes. So let me go back here.
Resolution 1.
Nope.
Scenario Interlude.
Here we go.
Tragedy Strikes. Find each surviving expedition member, including those currently under an investigator's control, who do not have a checkmark drawn next to their name in the expedition team section of the campaign log, and choose one of them at random. If there are no such expedition members, skip the rest of this interlude. It all happens in the blink of
Okay, so we'll let that
you
play
only have time
through.
to scream your companion's name before they are seized. Its many shifting shapes coil around their body. They struggle to escape, but it is hopeless.
Okay, so Professor William Dyer is already dead, so he's not eligible for this. We'll bring these off to the side. So we'll shuffle them all up. And our defeated team member is Dr. Malasina. So I know I have a pen around here somewhere. Probably went back in my pocket, but anyway. Dr. Sina. Proceed.
If the victim is James Cookie Fredericks,
Which
the hardened
it is not. So Dr. Malasina has been killed. So Avery goes back into play with Norman. And Amy goes back into play with Tony. And now we've got to look at the so now the Terror of the Stars. I'm actually going to put 2 bounties on it. I know I'm not getting them back as bounties, but I do want to try to make dealing with the Terror of the Stars easier. But anyway, getting a little bit ahead of myself on that. So our new agenda. Agenda 2A, Terror Descends. The once flurrying snow has become a tempest of wind and heavy snowfall. If you don't make it across the peaks soon, you'll be forced to take shelter, or spend the rest of eternity as a frozen corpse along the mountainside. Forced. After you move to a location, return all clues to the token pool. Oh joy. Alright, so, from the Mythos deck, Norman draws. Whiteout. Each investigator attached to the location gets -1 to everything. Forced. At the end of the round, discard Whiteout. Delightful. Delightful timing on that. Tony draws. Polar Vortex. Forced. Attach to your location. Forced. When you end your turn at attached location, each card you control with health, including your investigator, takes 1 direct damage. At the end of the round, discard Polar Vortex. So we need to try to get off this location if we can, but that's going to be pretty flippin' difficult to do here, given that our evasion capabilities just got cut down significantly, and even our combat prowess isn't really that great right now. But I don't think we have a choice in the matter. I think we've got to take this Terror of the Stars out now. So with that, let's move down to Norman and let's move into his play area. Tony's got a little more mitigation than Norman does, but we've got to go for it anyway. So action 1 for Norman. He's going to put a Shriveling into Terror of the Stars. He'll commit No Stone Unturned to go up 1. Is Tony going to commit anything to him? I'm going to keep quick thinking for Tony because I'm more likely to get the action off of his attack. But anyway, Norman is up 1. -2 fails, that's delightful. Action 2, we gotta go for it at even. This is real bad. Skull makes Norman take another horror, and it fails him at -3. Great. Action 3, we've got to do it. Cultist, and to make matters worse, so Norman takes another horror, which also is going to move him down to the location below him. Great. Which means he'll make friends with the Guardian Elder thing. Oh joy, this is really not going well at all. But anyway, that will do it for Norman. Tony now is going to try his luck with the Terror of the Stars. He's going to use his bounty action to take a shot with the Thompson, and he'll commit quick thinking to this. Yes. Alright, so he right now is 4, 5, 6 to 3, 7 to 3, he's up 4, and if he succeeds by 2 or more, he gets an action back. Elder Sign. This is probably going to be very welcome. +2, place a bounty on bounty contracts. Nice! So we get a bounty back on bounty contracts. The Terror of the Stars takes 2 damage. And Tony gets to take a free action. No bonus points for what he's doing. He's shooting at it again. So, 4, 5, 6. Does he have anything else he can commit right now? We'll commit Opportunist for 7 to put him up 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, he's up 4 again. Cultist is a -1, but unlike when Norman pulled it, Tony not only gets the 2 damage on the Terror of the Stars, but he actually gets Opportunist back to his hand, which he'll probably use, again for actual action 1. So he'll use another bullet. I'll say that one of these days in English. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Once again, he's up 4. -2 keeps Opportunist in his hand and does another 2 damage. So that was, okay, so bounty action, quick thinking. Action 1 was to actually shoot. Action 2 will run that back again. Yeah, so 4, 5, 6, 7, once again up 4. Another 2 damage on the Terror of the Stars. Action 3, Tony's going to run a regular fisticuffs action. So 4, 5 with Opportunist, and the 41 Derringer at 6. We'll also commit Hard Knocks because I don't think I'm going to use that. So I'm up 4, trying to take this thing out, shockingly. Frost token is -1 and draw again. -2, which I think takes it out, but it loses Opportunist. So let me just check. So 4, 5, 6, 7. That brought me down to 6, 4. So yes, we do succeed, but we lose Opportunist. So we get 2 resources back from the bounty pool. Frost token the tokens go back to the bag. The Terror of the Stars goes to the victory display. And Tony single-handedly managed to defeat that thing. Good grief. He's going to be taking each card I control with health is going to take a direct damage. Yeah, I think. Do we work on the clues, or is Norman's going to need help with that Guardian Elder thing, most likely? It's got bounties on it, too. So I think... Do I think we're going to have to drop down and help Norman? I think... Yeah, I think we're going to have to drop down and help Norman. So action 4 will take us over to the map. Since I don't... Actually, Norman should have lost his clues as well. I've been terrible about remembering that. So, since I don't trust Norman's ability to deal with this Guardian Elder thing right now, I am going to have to move Tony down. Plus, I really don't want to take a direct damage and deal with Whiteout anymore. So, right. So that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Norman does take 1 and 1. He'll take the damage himself. He'll take all of it himself, but he's got to discard the top 3 cards of the deck for just 1 damage. So, yeah, he just takes... Oh, no, what's when you deal damage? Never mind. Help if I actually read the card. But anyway, so that'll end the round. We'll reset everything there. Reset these. And then Tony's Quarry does move up to Windswept Path as well. I did forget about that. But anyway, that's after you move from a location below it. So that's all done. Anyway, now we can move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains a resource, goes to 3. Tony gains a resource and goes to 5. Norman has knowledge as power to choose from, and Tooth of Esley. 3 cost to play, lore on commit. You get +1 will on commit, actually. You get +1 will and +1 agility while resolving an ability on a treachery card. Reaction: after you succeeded a skill test while resolving an ability on a treachery card, exhaust the tooth to draw a card, and it takes the accessory slot. I think we're going to take the Tooth of Esley. And then on top of Norman's deck will be... I've got a plan. 3 cost to play, will or lore in a combat on commit. Fight using lore. You deal +1 damage with this attack for each clue you have to a max of +3. Also, when Norman took the 1 and 1 from the Guardian Elder thing, he should have taken another horror because of hypochondria. Tony draws. Watch this. We saw this earlier, and it was how Tony was able to pull out his Thompson. Mythos phase, we got our first Doom on the new agenda. Norman draws. Through the Ice. Attach to the nearest location without a copy of Through the Ice attached. As an additional cost for you to enter or leave the attached location, except by a scenario card effect, test Agility 2. If you fail, cancel the effects of the move, take 1 and 1, and discard Through the Ice. Joy. Also, Whiteout and Polar Vortex should be gone from Narrow Ridge. Tony draws. Constricting Elder Thing, 3x2. Hunter, where X is the level of your location, which is 2. While it's engaged with you, you can't move above 1 and 2 on attack. And I'm not going to worry about bounties on this, but anyway, that'll do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase, oh boy, we just turned into a bit of a disaster here. I think Tony and Norman are probably going to end up dealing with each other's enemies. So let's start with... How do I want to do this? So if they're going to deal with each other's enemies... How do we want to do this? So... I wish I could take simultaneous turns, but I can't. Let me look at both of their hands. Is there anything in particular I need to do this round? We just try to have Norman evade for a giggle? Does Tony have any agility in his hand that he can commit to Norman? He does not. He's got agility he can commit to himself, though. Except that'll bring me even, and I don't trust my ability to pass a... That'll just bring me up to even, and I don't trust my ability to pass an even agility test for either one of them, in truth. But yeah, I think... Who would I rather get moving up top? The question is, who would I rather have trigger that Through the Ice? Without a question right now, I think that's Tony, so... We'll move... Actually, Tony's down 1 for his first agility test. So yeah, let's move down to Tony's play area and see what we can do with that. Alright, so action 1, Tony's going to try to evade the constricting Elder Thing. He is right now at even, thanks to watch this now, he's at even, and I'm going to I'll put 2 resources into this because I've seen stranger things happen on this, but that's all I can do. So Tony is testing, Tony's going to have to test at even. -1 fails kind of like I thought it would, which is unfortunate, but... Alright, so backup plan is we're just going to blast it with the Thompson. Man, I wish I'd kept that. I wish I'd planned this a little bit better, but alas. Too late now. So 5, 7 to 3. I'm up 4 trying to take it out. Yeah. -1 definitely takes the constricting elder thing out. Then action 3, Tony is going to try to move off of through the ice. We are at even. Actually, we're at even trying to make that test. All right, -1 cancels the move, and we take 1 and 1. So that's 3, and we'll take the 1 sanity ourselves. Then action 4 will take us back over to the map. I did a pretty terrible job planning this turn, but Tony for action 4 is going to move up to the narrow ridge, and he takes a horror for moving up there. That's it for Tony. Norman's action 1, he's going to try to evade the Guardian Elder thing. Unfortunately, he's even. But let's give it a shot. He did it! He got away from the Guardian Elder thing. So Norman passes that. Action 2, he'll move up to the narrow ridge as well, taking a horror. Then for action 3, we'll investigate. He's up 4. Elder Sign, as we saw earlier, is +X, where you may swap the top card of your deck with a card in hand. X is the resource cost on the card. I will... I've got a plan... Actually, is there something in particular that I kind of want to discard? I actually kind of want to discard the Tooth, so I'll swap those. Pretend the Tooth is on the top of the deck, but in any case, I get the clue... And I get a resource, and for once I didn't have any resources to lose, but anyway, that will do it for Norman, that'll do it for the investigation phase, nothing end of round, or nothing end of turn. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry moves, and the Guardian Elder thing is exhausted. Hopefully we'll be another location ahead by the time the Guardian Elder thing is ready to engage, but anyway, the Guardian Elder thing will wake up, we will reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman gains 1 resource and goes to 5. Tony gains 1 and goes to 4. As long as, if this is a clue gathering card, I'm probably binning the Tooth. But let's see what Norman has to choose from for his second card. Extensive Research, 12 cost to play, 2 lore on commit. Reduce the cost to play Extensive Research by 1 for each other card in your hand. Discover 2 clues at your location. Tony draws. 21 or bust. 1 at a time, reveal random tokens from the Chaos Bag until you choose to stop. Treat each Skull, Cultist, Rune, or Elder thing as a 5. Tentacle as a 10, and the Elder Sign is either a 1 or 11. If the combined value of these tokens, ignoring plus or minus, is 18 or less, gain 4 resources, 19, gain 5, 20, gain 6, 21, gain 9. That could actually come in really handy for us shortly, but Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 2. Norman draws. Avalanche. If the level of your location is 1 to 4, move to the location directly below you. Then test Will X. X is the level of your location. If you fail, repeat this process. If you didn't move by this effect, Avalanche gains Surge. Blast it all! So Norman does move back down. He gets engaged with the Guardian Elder thing again. He cannot get away from that thing. And then he tests Will 2. Fortunately, he's up 2. Thankfully, that's all Norman gets swept down, but that is a big problem. Tony draws. Through the ice, Joy Joy. So we just had this last turn. That goes right back out, and that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase, I think we'll go ahead and have Tony start in his play area after I change my battery. Action 1. Let's play a little blackjack, shall we? 21 or bust. So we'll go into the bag. This thing does not want to focus today, does it? Start grabbing it from this side. That's better. Frost token and ruling is a 0. That's a 5. $10. $15. $16. Still 16. Holy cow, 21. That is enough of that. So we gain 9 resources. Action 2, I'm only going to bring 3 of them over because I need 6 of them. I wish I had 7 resources. Because I need 6 of them to play out Tony's other 45 Thompson. So we'll get the ammo for that. Then action 3 will investigate. We're up 1. Skull is -3. Yeah, -3, so we fail that. Action 4, we'll run the investigate back. And get there, since we were up 1. So Tony's done there. That will do it for Tony. Since we got moved to a location, Norman loses clue. Speaking of Norman, let's move down to his play area. Let's see if we get lucky evading the Guardian of the Elder thing again. We're at even. Oh, top card of Norman's deck. Preposterous sketches, if only if there's a clue at your location to draw 3 cards. So we're at even trying to evade, and we've got no agility we can put into this. Oh joy, Cultist is a -1. If you fail, move to the location directly below you. Delightful, Norman. Well, I think we've got a new plan here. I think the plan looks to be Norman's going to sacrifice himself so Tony can hopefully get up top. Problem is Norman's our clover. Action 2, we got to try to evade again. Rune, as we saw, was just not this is not working today. We'd have to eat an attack of opportunity. Well, might as well put a shot into shriveling into him for action 3. He's up 1. Yeah, that's where we'll test. Frost is -1 and pull again, so Norman's even right now. A 0 puts 2 damage on the Guardian Elder thing, but Norman's got to discard the top 2 cards of his deck. Which I don't mind losing Preposterous Sketches here. But we also discard the Tooth of Esley, which I'm also down with. And then on top of Norman's deck we have... I've got a plan, which would let him fight, but he doesn't have any clues to fight with. So anyway, that will do it for Norman. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's quarry moves up to the narrow ridge, but it doesn't engage Tony because it's aloof. Then the Guardian Elder thing does 1 and 1 to Norman. Oh, this is bad. Norman can take the damage, which requires him to take a horror, but he's got to put the horror on Milan. Otherwise, he's just going to bite it, and he might bite it next turn anyway. But that will do it for the enemy phase, so we'll reset everything. That did not work according to plan. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Norman and Tony both gain 1 resource and go to 6. Norman has I've Got a Plan and True Understanding to choose from. He's going to take True Understanding mostly because I need another wildcard commit on the Mythos deck. And then then on top of his deck, we find Captivating Discovery, which is Elhat Garbaggio right now. Tony draws Lucky Cigarette Case. 2 cost to play, Loran commit. After you succeed at a skill test by 2 or more, exhausted to draw 1 card. Mythos phase, Doom on the Agenda goes up to 3. Norman draws Ice Shaft. Oh boy. Test Agility 3. For each Frost token you reveal during the test, take 1 damage. If you fail, take 2. We're definitely in a situation here where we're probably going to need to lean on Avery for this one. We are down to... And not even an Elder Sign saves us right now because we have Captivating Discovery on top. So of course we get Tentacle Touched, naturally. Actually, this is actually going to defeat Norman by Sanity because for each... So remember, Ice Shaft says if you fail, take 2 damage, and we got Tentacle Touched. So we can put 1 damage on Milan to defeat him. We can also put the Horror on. Actually, it doesn't take Horror, but we still have to take 1 damage. And then Hypochondrius says after you take 1 or more damage, take 1 direct Horror. So because we had to take damage, we actually take 1 direct Horror, and Norman has been defeated by Sanity. So Norman takes his first mental trauma of the campaign, which means he's out for the scenario. And then Tony draws Glimpse the Unthinkable. Oh joy. Peril. Revelation. Well, we saw this earlier. So the top card of the Tekalili deck for Tony. Place 1 of your clues on your location, which actually Tony should have... Oh! No, Tony didn't. Tony got that clue from off the location when we went back up there. So we're actually going to shuffle this into Norman's deck, which means he has 1 Tekalili card in his deck. So I'll go ahead and just start picking up everything from Norman. Actually, I gotta double check how the investigators, how the expedition team members interact when they're defeated when the character is defeated during a scenario. So if an investigator... if a partner asset is defeated, which it wasn't. If an investigator is defeated, any partner asset they have with them is also defeated. So if a partner asset is defeated, remove it from the game. Then cross out that character's name in the expedition team section of the campaign chart. So we've actually lost Avery now as well. Delightful. That went completely sideways on me. Where was I? Oh yes, I think I got... Right, I was just about to shuffle the Tekalili card into Norman's deck. The Norman was at Windswept Path when the Guardian Elder thing bit it. Fantastic. Right, that went real well. So, with that, now Tony's alone, so he's going to start off in his play area. Action 1, let's try to get that clue off the location. So he is up 1. +1 gets the last clue. Action 2, we're going to try to move up through the ice. We're down 1, unfortunately. Frost is -1 and pull again. So right now we're at 0. And Tentacle touched, as if we needed a further sign that we're failing this test. So 1 and 1, but through the ice is gone. That was action 2. Action 3 will take us over to the map. If either of these next 2 locations are impossibly high shroud locations, we're probably going to be stuck just waiting for the end, because Tony most likely won't be able to clear them of clues, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself on there. So anyway, so action 1 was to investigate, then try to move, then move. Now we're actually moving. So going up to Mountainside, and Tony finds Shroud of 4, 2 clues. Forced, after you move to Rocky Ledge from a location below it, shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at it. They had crossed the icy peaks on whose templed slopes they had once worshipped and roamed among the tree ferns? Yeah. H.P. Lovecraft of the Mountains of Madness, Victory 1. So we'll get the 2 clues for that. Tekalili deck, and I need one of Tony's sleeves. Here we are. Give this a quick shuffle. I would not mind it at all. I would not mind at all if this came right back out of the deck, but that might be a little too much to hope for. Unfortunately, right now we are down 1. So if we investigate, we're hoping for a pull. But given that he's alone, I think that's our only course of action. Actually, I can commit his prepared for the worst, I should say, to get him to even. -1 and pull again. Cultist is -1. If you fail, move back down. Joy. And we lose the clue. Also delightful. But anyway, that will do it for Tony from the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Guardian of the Elder thing moves up, and Tony's quarry is already at his location. So with that, we'll reset everything, and then we'll move back up top. Well, we got to reset this as well. Then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. By back up top, I mean we're going to move into Tony's play area. So he gains a resource, goes up to 7, and then draws. Mauser C96, which I'm not particularly happy to see right now. Mythos phase, we go up to 4 Doom on the agenda. Tony draws. Hypothermia, test Will 3. If the level of your location is 4 or 5, which it's not, so we don't worry about that. If you fail, either add 1 frost token to the chaos bag or take 1 horror for each point you failed by. Tony right now is down 1. And I will have to commit the lucky cigarette case to go to even, because I really don't want to do either of these. Really? Alright, so Tony is going to... this is so bad. So we're going to add another frost token to the bag. And then the cultist moves us down to a location which makes friends with the guardian elder thing. Wonderful. Well, I think I know what Tony's turn is now, so let's just get right into it. Bounty action, Tony's going to take a shot at the Guardian Elder thing, so he's at 5, 7 to 3, he's up 4. Elder thing, oh boy. -4. If you fail, the nearest Elder Thing enemy moves once toward you. If it's engaged with you, it attacks. So that was a -4, so 5, 6, 7 to 3, we were up 4. So that thing's defeated. Tony is going to have to discard the top 2 cards of his deck, drawing weaknesses he finds, but he gets 2 resources. But he gets 2 resources from that. So we'll discard the top 2 cards of his deck. Neither of which are weaknesses. The Vicious Blow would have been useful, but... that is a humanoid, so I would have been able to make use of Parlay. But... anyway, a little late to worry about that now. So, actions 2 and 3... actually, actions 1 and 2 will take us back over to the map. Action 1, take a horror. Action 2, shuffle another card from the... another top card from the Tekalili deck into Tony's deck. The way I'm shuffling cards into Tony's deck, I'm going to need... probably going to need another a different set of sleeves for him, PDQ, but getting a little ahead of myself on that. Action 3, we'll use Dr. Kensler to help Tony investigate, so he's up 1. Thankfully, the cultist doesn't fail this time. So, because of Dr. Kensler, we do get to look at the top card of the encounter deck, and I may discard it. So I will look at the encounter deck. We will find Snowfall. Bye-bye. That Shroud is already impossibly high to deal with, and I don't want to pour more gasoline on that fire for Tony. Thank you very much. So action 4, I think Tony will draw a card. So Tony will draw Hard Knocks, which I'm not particularly happy to see, but that will do it for Tony. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's Quarry moves up. Then we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Tony gains 1 resource, goes to 10, and then draws. He should also... Oh no, that was the clue he just got. So he draws. 21 or bust, which we don't particularly need resources right now. Anyway, Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 5, and then we draw. Antarctic Wind. Revelation, attached to the nearest location without a copy of Antarctic Wind attached. Investigators at attached location can't play cards or draw from their deck. Forced at the end of the round, discard Antarctic Wind. Hopefully we won't be at the rocky ledge too long, but let's see what Tony does in his investigation phase. Action 1, he'll exhaust Dr. Kensler to investigate up 1. Does he have anything? He'll commit the other copy of Leo to go up 2, which means we're basically in a precarious situation here anyway, so up 2. Rune, as we saw, is -3, and we fail that. Action 2, we might as well run the investigate back. I could always take a shot at the Tony Quarry. Might not be a terrible idea just to get rid of it. A 0 means we fail, so I think I'd rather just draw a card, see if I can get another skill commit. So Tony will draw a card. He will draw. Dyer's Sketches, which is actually very welcome right now, because action 4 will be an investigate, and I'll commit... Actually, let's wait on that. I'll draw another card. So Tony will draw. Vicious Blow. Okay, that's actually going to be quite helpful. But anyway, that will do it for Tony. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Tony's Quarry doesn't do anything. So we can move right into the upkeep phase. Probably just going to play this as mostly a flow at this point. So Tony will gain another resource and go to 11. And then he'll draw. Tekalili, take 1 horror. Place it on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Bye, Leo, you've been very helpful for us. But I'm trying to protect Dr. Kensler as much as I can here. So that goes on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 6. Tony draws. Revelation test agility 3. For each frost token revealed during this test, take a damage. If you fail, take 2. We're down 2. And I think that's where we'll test. Cultist. Which pulls him down to Narrow Ridge, that actually kind of works out, because I can put the horror, as much as I don't want to, I can put the horror on Dr. Kensler here, but I can't keep playing this do-si-do game with Narrow Ridge. See, I'll put a horror on Dr. Kensler. Then investigation phase will take us over to the map. Antarctic Wind should have also been gone at end of round. Action 1, Tony moves back up to Rocky Ledge, which puts another Tekalili card into his deck. I cannot get rid of these dumb things. Doesn't help that I'm playing do-si-do between these two locations. Action 2 will exhaust Dr. Kensler to investigate the location up 1. Do we have anything? Oh, yes, we do have something we can commit. We'll commit Dyer's sketches to go up 3. Even though I have a feeling I'm going to need that at the summit, assuming we can make it. +1 gets us the clue. And then action 3, let's make the summit and see what we've got up there. The flavor text here is different, by the way. As we drew near the forbidding peaks, dark and sinister above the line of crevasse-risen snow and interstitial glaciers, we noticed more and more the curiously regular formations. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Shroud of 3, 6 clues. Clues can only be discovered by investigating. As forced, when the summit is revealed, add 1 frost token to the chaos bag. As an action, resign. Add each expedition asset you control to the victory display. Return all of your clues to the token pool. So we might end up resigning from this scenario right here. And just leave the spare parts behind. Anyway, that will... Okay, grab the clue, move. We could resign right now, because I'm not going to have the time to get 6 clues. I'm most likely not going to have the time to get 6 clues off that location. So, I think I am just going to push the resign button here. So if each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. A City of Wonder. After a long and arduous journey up the mountainside, you've reached the Forbidden Peaks. You hope the pain and horror you've suffered along the way is behind you, but you fear that it will persist and become relentless. R1. So with that, let's move back up top for R1. Alright, we're all set to go with resolution 1, so let's get into it. Oh, no, wrong scenario. That was Ice and Death I went back up to. Where are you?
Resolution 1.
Here we go.
The view from the summit is breathtaking, but you are in no mood to enjoy the spectacle. Sprawled before you, on the other side of these accursed peaks, lies the city described in Dyer's report. Its haunting visage is unmistakable. Dozens of conical and pyramidal buildings of dark slate and sandstone are honeycombed throughout the region like a labyrinth of perfect geometric shapes. Though weathered by the ages, the city still stands, hidden by the jagged peaks and the heavy snow. For a while, you stand in silence and take in the wondrous sight. If it weren't for the many trials you faced along the way, it would be a moment of triumph. But after the sacrifices made to get here, the victory rings hollow. A freezing wind blows across the peaks. The air is too thin for you to linger here. After a moment's rest, you begin the long trek down into the alien city. You will have to make camp before you reach the bottom. With any luck, you'll be hidden from the dreadful creatures that dwell there. In your campaign log, record, the team climbed to the summit. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. For each expedition asset in the Victory display, an investigator may choose to add that asset to their deck. It does not count toward their deck size. For each expedition asset added to an investigator's deck this way, that investigator earns one bonus experience. For each expedition asset that is not in the Victory display, cross out its title in the Supplies Recovered section of the campaign log. In the Expedition Team section of the campaign log, record the amount of damage and horror on each partner asset in play. Proceed to Interlude 2, Endless Night.
Alright, so just for quick updates, while I start to queue up Interlude 2, Endless Night. Where is the intro for this one? Come on. Oh, I think it's Endless Night. I think it's this one.
Interlude 2, Endless...
Okay, yeah, so that's where I want to be on the recording, but just to give everybody a quick update, I was making some notes as that was playing. We picked up 6 experience from the victory display. We had 5 for the locations that we cleared and the Terror of the Stars that Tony managed to single-handedly shoot down. But Norman also picked up a trauma, and we left the spare parts behind. I figured we had to get this moving. So anyway, let's proceed now into Interlude 2, Endless Night.
Interlude 2, Endless Night. Endless Night 1. Once again safe, you and your companions set up camp in silence. You marvel at how much quieter the evening is compared to those that came before, be it due to your dwindling numbers or the grim mood that hangs over the camp. But the quiet is anything but peaceful. As the hours pass, you can't seem to get any rest. You decide instead to check on your companions. You only have enough time to check on a few team members, regardless of whether they are alive or crossed out. One at a time, choose and read 3 of the sections below. 4 instead if the team found another way through the mountains. If the game effect of this chosen section cannot be performed, it does not count toward this total, and you may choose a new section instead. After you have read the appropriate number of sections, proceed to Endless Night 2.
Okay, so we've got 3 to pick from. So let's go pay. Well, we did just lose Dr. Cena on this one, so let's go pay her a visit. Let's go check on what's left of her.
If Dr. Mollicina is alive and an investigator did not already earn her...
Wait, that should be if investigators crossed out. Let's play this for a little bit.
Lost card from Interlude 1. You're not sure exactly what compelled you to seek out Dr. Cena's tent, but now that you're here, you know you won't find any answers among her belongings. Still, perhaps you can salvage some use out of her old medical kits and cold weather gear. As you stuff her medical supplies into one of her backpacks, a shiver crawls up your back, and you tell yourself it is out of necessity, but helping yourself to the belongings of the dead still weighs heavily on your conscience. You heft the backpack straps onto your shoulders and turn to leave Dr. Cena's tent, hoping to put this grim business out of mind. The quiet clatter of something falling out of the backpack's front pocket catches your attention. You search around your feet for the object and find a small leather wallet containing only a hairpin, a picture of Dr. Cena with what you can only assume to be her family, and a ticket stub for a show at the Riverview Theater. Without truly thinking why, you pocket it. If it was important enough for her to keep, it must hold some sentiment. Any one investigator may add the Cena's medical kit story asset to their deck. This card can be found in the Memorials of the Lost encounter set. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
Hold on. So let's take a look at Cena's medical kit. Will, wildcard on commit, 1 cost to play, uses 3 supplies. As a fast action, exhaust Cena's medical kit and spend 1 supply. Heal 1 damage or 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. I think we're going to give that to Tony because his sanity is so much out of balance. So that's Cena's medical kit. Next, let's go pay Avery a visit since we also lost him in this scenario.
If Avery Claypool is crossed out and an investigator did not already earn his Memorial of the Lost card from Interlude 1, Claypool's belongings lay scattered about the encampment's main tent, including a map of the Ross ice shelf he'd marked with the various annotations you don't quite understand. A cold wind blows open the flaps of the tent and fills the space with frigid air. You wrap your arms around your chest to keep warm. Without Claypool, you are defenseless against the dangerous weather. Being caught out in a polar storm would be deadly, and he was the only one with the expertise to accurately predict them. You sigh and make to leave, stopping momentarily to glance at the heavy fur coat bundled with the remainder of Claypool's things. Then you glance down at your own, worn and ragged from your arduous journey. You pick up Claypool's and leave your old coat behind. Maybe he isn't leaving you defenseless against the weather after all. Any one investigator may add the Claypool's Furs story asset to their deck. This card can be found in the Memorials of the Lost Encounter set. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
We'll take a look at Claypool's Furs. We definitely need mitigation against all those frost tokens in the bag. Fast. 2 cost to play, combat, and wildcard on commit. When you reveal a frost token during a skill test you're performing, deal 1 damage to Claypool's Furs, cancel that cast token and return it to the bag, reveal a new cast token. I think we're going to give that to Norman, just because, again, we really need some mitigation from the... We really need some mitigation from all those frost tokens we have in the bag. We'll shuffle those in. And then for our third investigator, or for our third expedition team member, let's go follow up with... who do I want to pay a visit to? Let's go follow up with Dr. Kensler.
If Danforth is alive...
Danforth is
nobody
not
else seems to
alive.
understand Danforth's...
I'm not following up with Danforth.
If Dr. Amy Kensler is
Bingo.
alive, but Dr. Kensler is sharing her research with you is not recorded in your campaign log.
It is recorded in our campaign log because she is sharing her research. Next.
If Dr. Amy Kensler is alive, but Dr. Kensler is sharing her research with you is not recorded.
It is.
If Dr. Amy Kensler is alive and Dr. Kensler is sharing her research with you is recorded in your campaign log. Dr. Kensler is unsurprised when you enter her tent. She looks up from her desk and tilts her glasses down to gaze at you directly. Here to inquire after my findings, she asks, to which you nod. Very well. You note her unusually warm demeanor as you approach and peer over her shoulder. In front of her, a section of one of an elder thing's limbs is dissected with expert precision. Dark green liquid stains its scaly flesh and the surface beneath it alike. She raises her glasses once again and turns to face her anatomical sample. It's not unlike us, she says, just as Dyer suggested in his account. And yet, somehow, they are able to survive incredible pressure and cold, perhaps even the vacuum of space. What I don't understand is, she breathes deep and continues, Dyer's report only accounts for the waking of a few of these creatures from their hibernation. Why, then, are so many of them active? Dr. Kensler's research allows you to view the situation with greater clarity. In your campaign log, record, Dr. Kensler is on the verge of understanding.
Alright, so we have finally handled all of that, and yes, Tony should have lost his last clue from the moving into the summit, not that that matters right now, because the scenario is over. But anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of To the Forbidden Peaks. We picked up 6 experience, Norman picked up a mental trauma, and now Dr. Kensler is questioning her sanity, in addition to Avery and Dr. Cena now being dead. Anyway, pardon the small cut-in from Phoenix Knight from the future, but we almost forgot something. We actually have a whole other interlude to go through. So, this is before I derp and realize I'm going to have to cover this on Friday during the upgrades video, we'll get into it here. As usual, if you hear any background noise, I'm continuing to clean up. So, advance apologies on that.
Endless Night 3. Just as you are finally beginning to drift off, the door appears again. It shimmers momentarily, gray mist bellowing out from the cracks of the door frame. Again, you are being offered a choice. But do you dare to risk venturing into the frigid illusion once more? The investigators must decide. Choose one. Open the door and venture once more into the mirage. Add 1 frost token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. Proceed to Scenario 3, Fatal Mirage.
Hold on. We did all of the wrong things there.
Endless Night 2. You try to invade sleep, but the night seems...
So pretend that last interlude didn't just happen. This is the one we actually want.
to go on forever. Your thoughts meandering endlessly in a maze of worry and doubt. If you have already played Scenario Fatal Mirage this campaign, proceed to Endless Night 3. Otherwise, check the Expedition Team section of the campaign log. If there are 3 or more names crossed out, skip to Endless Night 4. Otherwise, proceed to Scenario 3, City of the Elder Things.
We actually do have 3 names crossed out on the Expedition Team now. Professor Dyer, who was killed in the plane crash, Avery Claypool, who was defeated when Norman bit it, and Dr. Malacina, who was our casualty as we climbed the mountain. So, over we go to Endless Night 4.
Endless Night 4. Just as you are finally beginning to drift off, a vague threat in the corner of your mind startles you into action. You reach instinctively for a weapon to defend yourself, but when you peer about, nothing is out of place. In fact, you rise to your feet, shocked, and examine your surroundings. Your makeshift camp was protected from the harsh elements, but still deep in the Antarctic wilderness, and yet you find yourself indoors, in a hall that you cannot place, though it seems familiar to you. You brush aside some of the snow that still lingers on the ground around your sleeping bag, noting a tiled floor that wasn't there before. A dream? As you doubt the truth of this mysterious place, the walls and the tiled floor shimmer and fade. You are left back in the freezing cold of your camp, surrounded by your companions, except the door leading out of that hall still remains. Thick gray mist swirls around you, guiding you onward. This is no natural refraction of light. Something supernatural is at work here. The thick miasma that churns around your camp is not unlike the substance that makes up the nightmarish creatures you encountered after your plane crashed. Do you really want to know what it wants you to see? The investigators must decide. Choose one. Open the door and venture into the mirage. Proceed to scenario ? Fatal mirage. Ignore the door and allow it to vanish. Proceed to scenario 3, City of the Elder Things. You will get this chance again later.
We decided at the end of we're going to decide at the end of the recording to proceed to scenario 3, City of the Elder Things. So, back on with the outro. I'm on the march to 200 videos on the channel, and I want to thank you guys for supporting me on the road to 200 videos. So, the 200th video could be one of potentially 3 possible videos. Actually, it's going to be more likely to be it's more likely to be 2 of those videos than the 3. I'm waiting for another product unboxing that should be coming through early this week. I'm also going to be running a challenge, my video listing my 10-game challenge for the Tack Up War Room Facebook group, Wargaming Facebook group. I'll provide a link to that group in the description below in that video. Or Wednesday, I'm back into the Twilight Imperium universe as I play Twilight Inscription. I expect either the unboxing or Twilight Inscription to be video 200 on the channel. Anyway, Sunday we'll also have the next upgrades video for the winter campaign, and then Sunday the winter campaign will continue with the 3rd scenario, City of the Elder Things. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.